the Winston-Salem Urban Area Transportation Advisory Committee. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for taking time out of your day to be here with us. Should be a pretty straightforward meeting. So let me remind folks that if you've had a chance to look over the agenda, if you see there's any potential conflict of interest for either yourself or your immediate family, this would be the time to let us know so we would be able to excuse you from voting on that particular matter. Does anybody have a potential conflict of interest? All righty. Kelly, do we need to do an official roll call? Very good. If you'll undertake that, that'd be fabulous.
Yes, sir. Mr. Robert Clark.
Here.
Ms. Adams.
Here.
Mr. Elamine.
Present.
Mr. Brandon.
Present.
Mr. Apple.
Here.
Mr. Horn.
Here.
Mr. Byron.
I'm here.
Mr. Marion.
Here.
Mr. Hutchins.
Here.
Ms. Finney.
Here.
Mr. Rick Morris. Mr. Morris. All right. Mr. Willie Clark.
Here.
And I believe I just saw Mr. Lane.
Here.
That concludes it.
Very good. Thank you very much. Folks, let me remind you, if you are not speaking, if you'll mute yourself, that would be great. That way we can cut down on any of the side interference. I can hear better. Folks, we will be voting by roll call today, since this is a virtual meeting. So as each matter becomes before the committee, Kelly will call the roll. Kelly, will you call the roll, or Hunter call the roll for our votes? Kelly will call the roll. Very good. All righty. Committee members, you've had a chance to review the minutes from our last TAC meeting. If there are no changes or additions or revisions, entertain a motion to waive the reading and approve.
I move for approval.
Second. Clark.
Ms. Adams, I believe, made the motion, and Mr. Clark made the second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry, we can't do that. I'm sorry,
You got a
Kelly.
roll call.
You got to do a roll call.
Trick.
It feels
trick
like I'm right here
question.
with you. Kelly, if you'll call the roll, please.
Yes, sir. Mr. Clark.
Yes.
Ms. Adams.
Yes.
Mr. Elamine.
Yes.
Mr. Brandon.
Yes.
Mr. Apple.
Yes.
Mr. Lane.
Yes.
Mr. Horn.
Here.
Mr. Byron.
Yes.
Mr. Marion.
Yes.
Mr. Hutchins.
Yes.
Ms. Finney.
Yes.
Mr. Rick Morris. Mr. Willie Clark.
Yes.
And that concludes it. It's unanimous.
Very good. Folks, I forgot to skip over the portion of the meeting where we're asking for public comments. Hunter, do we have anybody that's joined us or signed up to speak?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, very good. Hunter, you have our second action item, please.
Thank you, Mayor Horn. The item before you is the consideration of the fiscal year 2020 to 2029 Metropolitan Transportation Improvement Program amendments and modifications for the Winston-Salem Urban Area MPO. The FY 2020 through 2029 MTIP lists all transportation projects programmed for the Winston-Salem urban area and is a subset of our 2045 MTP and matches the projects programmed in the State Transportation Improvement Program, or STIP. The enclosed item and documents from July and August reflect the proposed additions, modifications, and amendments as proposed and presented to the NC Board of Transportation, that with the adoption of this resolution will be incorporated into our MTIP. This item also contains an action to program the awarded $320,000 in ICAM funding to fund a paratransit tracking and notification and regional fare system. All of these were subject to at least 30 days for public review, and during that time, no comments were received. Be happy to take any questions at this time.
Thank you, Hunter. Any questions for Hunter? Very good. There was one item I had a question on. It is under the funding for Smith Reynolds Taxi Lane. That's not a taxi lane that you would hail a taxi and go someplace. That's actually a taxi ramp that they're a taxi runway that they're building out there for $15,700,000. Very good. If there are no questions, entertain a motion, please, to approve.
One comment, please, Mr. Chair, before we go to the motion.
Yes, sir.
I wanted to include in my comments a concern we had at our community meeting the other evening with Pat Ivy and Kelly and our assistant planning director. And the concern from the community was the action on Oak Summit between Rural Hall Road and, of course, Germantown Road, and the hazards being created because of the development and the
Mr. Elamine had indicated to us that he was in a hotel room with poor reception. And it looks like he's proving that to be the case. Give it a second. I tell you what, since Mr. Amin had comments concerning this particular item, let us hold the motion in the second and come back to it when he has an opportunity to rejoin us. Hunter, you have our third item for consideration.
That is correct. Thank you very much, Mayor Horn. The item before you here is the consideration of an update to the congestion management process.
Thank you.
The congestion management process is a federally required, systematic, and regionally accepted approach for managing congestion that examines system performance, outlines strategies for addressing congestion, and assesses the effectiveness of such strategies. Reviewers at the Federal Highway Administration, or FHWA, found that the enclosed congestion management process update for 2022 now more directly describes each strategy's anticipated benefits on the network, identifies responsible parties for project implementation and possible funding sources, and adopts a biennial status of the systems report for tracking progress, in keeping with peer MPO practices. Most importantly, this document and process are now compliant with federal regulations. As an updated appendix to the 2045 Metropolitan Transportation Plan update adopted in November 2020, the update here was subject to an elevated level of public review per the public participation policy. The CMP was available for public review for 2 public review cycles or 60 days, and on October 13th, a public review meeting was held. In the enclosed documents, you will find the attendance record for said meeting, and you'll find that after the event, one of our attendees submitted a comment through our new public comment center. Her comments can be found in the enclosed. And overall, adoption of this resolution will incorporate the revisions to the CMP as an enclosed and amend the 2045 Metropolitan Transportation Plan and bring our MPO into compliance with federal regulations. I'll be happy to take any questions at this time.
Very good. Mr. Alamine, we postponed a vote on the previous matter so you could rejoin us and make your comment as part of the record, but let's go ahead and continue this one and then we'll move back to that one. Does anyone have a question for Hunter? Ladies and gentlemen, this is a public hearing. Is there anybody in our audience? Do we have anybody in our audience who wishes to speak on this particular topic?
Mayor Horn, we do not have anyone present for the public hearing.
Very good. I do believe we did receive a written comment, and we'll make that written,
correct.
And we'll make that written comment part of our record. Very good. If there are no questions for Hunter, we'll close the public hearing. Members, entertain a motion, please.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Apple makes the motion.
Second.
Mr. Lane, was that you?
Yes.
Very good. Mr. Lane makes the second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, Kelly will call your name.
It's Mr. Robert Clark,
Yes.
Ms. Adams,
Yes.
Mr. Elamine. Mr. Brandon,
Yes.
Mr. Apple made the motion. Mr. Lane made the second. Mr. Horn,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Byron,
Yes.
Mr. Marion,
Yes.
Mr. Hutchins,
Yes.
Miss Finney,
Yes.
and Mr. Willie Clark.
Yes.
That concludes it.
Very good. Thank you,
Hey,
members. That
This
passed.
is Rick. This is Rick Morris. I lost my internet connection. I'm just calling back in.
Very good. Mr. Morris, that particular item was the public hearing for the update of our congestion management process. And we had a public hearing. There was nobody to speak at that public hearing. If you would like to go on record in support or opposition to that particular item, you may do so now.
I'll do a yes.
Very good. Thank you. Mr. Alameen, let's try to get you in real quick before you die on us again. And you are muted, sir.
I'm outside, so it should work better now.
Very good.
That's a yes for me also on the last item.
Your comments on item number 3 kind of caught us in the middle. So if you'd like to continue those comments, I think be part of the record.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I wanted to bring to the attention of the body that the community at Country Club Annex had a very successful meeting with Pat Ivy, Kelly, and our assistant planning director for the city county board. And they all expressed concerns about the overflow of traffic on Oak Summit between Rural Hall Road and of course, Germantown Road, and the increase in developments in that specific road. And it's continuing to develop, which causes a lot of concern for the people who live in that area. And there were some commitments made to try to find some good neighbors to help raise the funds required to make the improvements on the road. So I want to thank those that came and bring it to the attention of the board that is this concern that community would like to see some attention given to in our next proposals for funding. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Kelly, you made the appropriate notation on that. Thank you, ma'am. Very good. Our final action item today, and Kelly, I believe this is yours.
Sir, we have not voted on that item yet. Item 3.
You know, that's why you make the big bucks, is to keep me honest in this whole thing. Ladies and gentlemen, we do have a motion and a second on that. Mr. Alameen had made his comments. Are there any other comments or any other discussion? If not, Kelly, if you'll call the roll, please. I'm just an old dog that ain't gonna learn new tricks.
Yes, sir. Mr. Robert Clark,
Yes.
Ms. Adams,
Yes.
Mr. Elamine,
Yes.
Mr. Brandon,
Yes.
Mr. Apple,
Yes.
Mr. Lane,
Yes.
Mr. Horn,
Yes.
Mr. Byron,
Yes.
Mr. Marion,
Yes.
Mr. Hutchins,
Yes.
Ms. Finney,
Yes.
Mr. Rick Morris, Mr. Morris.
Yes.
Thank you. And Mr. Willie Clark.
Yes.
That concludes it.
Thank you, members. That passes unanimously. Okay, Kelly, you now have our last item for action today.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon. The item before you is the consideration of an item to program additional funding from our Surface Transportation Block Grant Direct Attributable Funding for the Williams Road Improvement Project for the town of Louisville. The town of Louisville wished to add some improvement on Williams Road from Shallowford to US 421 intersection there. And the TAC had awarded the town about 1.2 million in DA funds during the 2016 call for projects. The town had, of course, committed to provide a match for that initial amount. However, recent construction bids have exceeded the project budget. And so the town of Louisville was requesting an additional about 1.7 million in DA funds. If awarded, the total amount for that project will be close to 2.9 million for the town of Louisville. Again, the town of Louisville has committed to provide the match for the total amount of that project. The additional funding is available from our MPO's reserve allocation. It should be noted that if this funding request is approved, the reserve fund will be depleted until the future call, which will be in 2024. Included in the packet is a table that highlights the different funding amounts, and I'll take any questions at this time.
Very good. Any questions for Kelly? If not, we'll entertain a motion, please.
Move to approve, Elamine.
Second, Clark.
Mr. Alamine makes the motion. Mr. Clark makes the second. Any further discussion? Kelly, if you'll call the roll, please.
Sure. Mr. Robert Clark made the second. Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Alamine made the motion.
Yes.
Mr. Brandon?
Yes.
Mr. Apple?
Yes.
Mr. Lane?
Yes.
Mr. Mike Horn?
Yes.
Mr. Byram?
Yes.
Mr. Marion?
Yes.
Mr. Hutchins?
Yes.
Ms. Finney?
Yes.
Mr. Morris?
Yes.
And Mr. Willie Clark.
Yes.
That concludes it.
Thank you, members. That passes unanimously. A side note, the town of Louisville greatly appreciates your support of this particular item. This project has been lingering around for 6 years, and it went through COVID and went through all kinds of other maturations. So thank you very much for your support on this. Righty, that concludes our action items today, but we have our briefing on our items that will come before us in January. And Hunter, I believe you have the first one.
Thank you, Mayor Horn. Good afternoon, everyone. The item before you here requests the review of the fiscal year 2020 through 2029 Metropolitan Transportation Improvement Program amendments and modifications for the Winston-Salem urban area MPO. The enclosed documents here are North Carolina Department of Transportation additions, deletions, modifications, and amendments to the STIP as presented to the North Carolina Board of Transportation for September, October, and November. Adoption of this resolution in January will amend and modify our 2020 through 2029 MTIP to reflect these. All items already were or will be available for public review for at least 30 days per the public participation policy. Happy to take any questions at this time.
Very good, Hunter. Any questions? Members, again, this will come before us in January, so we have a little time to review this information. Matt, you have the next information item for us, please.
Thank you, and good afternoon, Chairman, City Council, and members of the TAC. Item 7 is a review of a resolution for letters of support for 3 transportation organizations that carry out 5310 services in rural areas outside of the Winston-Salem MPO. NCDOT's Public Transportation Division administers annually the application and selection process for Section 5310 in rural areas. The Section 5310 program provides funding to improve mobility for seniors and individuals with disabilities by removing barriers and expanding options for transportation services. The agency's reference provides services both within the metropolitan planning area as well as in rural areas of Davidson County. Only services performed within the urbanized area of the MPO are eligible for MPO funding. Therefore, these 3 providers can apply for rural funding through the state pool. The letters of support attached acknowledge the desires to participate and seek TAC approval. Funds will be used to provide essential trips to Davidson County facilities as well as to social opportunities. If approved, the attached letters will be provided to the agencies to include in their applications to NCDOT. I'm happy to take any questions on this.
Very good. Any questions for Matt? All righty. Again, we have some opportunities to study this before our January meeting. Matt, you also have the next one, please.
I do. Item 8 is a review of the FTA Section 5307 grant program funding allocation for the Winston-Salem urban area for fiscal year 23 with plans to amend the MTIP. As an urbanized area with a transit system serving a population of 200,000 or more, Winston-Salem MPO received a little over $6.7 million in fiscal year 2022, with MPO staff anticipating a similar apportionment for fiscal year 23. Staff is bringing this item for information in order to expedite the allocation of fiscal year 23 funding to eligible agencies. There are currently 3 transit agencies in the MPO eligible to receive 5307 funds based upon data reported to the National Transit Database. They are Davidson County Transportation, PART, and WISTA. Additionally, activities under Job Access Reverse Commute, or JARC, provide job access for low-income individuals, and that continues to be 5307 eligible. Through policies adopted by the MPO in 2017, funding will be distributed in accordance with percentages developed by FTA. MPO staff will coordinate a meeting with eligible agency staff to discuss future use of funding once apportionments come available to allow for prompt approval at TAC. I'm happy to take any questions on this as well.
Thank you, Matt. Mr. Ryan,
Mr. Chairman, this is John.
I'm sorry, go ahead, sir.
I'm on the phone. I can't get you on the audio, on the visual, but I do have a question about this. Matthew, do you have the percentage? This is a $6.7 million project. Is that the one I'm looking at, number 8?
Yeah, that was for fiscal year 22. Sorry, go ahead.
Of the 3 funded agencies, what kind of percentages are we talking about? Say for Winston-Salem versus 2 allocations. You have percentages of that?
So I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but I can provide you with the table 3A that FTA provided for fiscal year 22. And I know that we recently had, in the last few months, the fiscal year 22 apportionment approved, and it should match, but it is subject to change based upon the amount of the population served in each of the 3 transit agencies within the MPO.
So the 6.7 of the 6.7, how much was Winston-Salem's share?
So I recall the amount being a little over 80%.
80%. Okay, that's what I was interested in.
Mr. Chairman, I can give you exact numbers if you need it.
Mr. Ryan?
I can calculate it. Thank you.
Yes, sir. It's 85.15% Winston-Salem, 3.6 for Davidson County, and Piedmont Authority is 11.22.
Okay. Good. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ryan.
The next.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, sir.
That was my question. Thank you. You answered it very well. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Mr. Ryan, as always, you have information at your fingertips when we need it. Did you have any additional comments you wanted to make about this item?
No, sir, I don't. I appreciate the staff going through this process. Everything that we have dealing with FTA formula funds, they come out based on different time frames up in Congress. The process, and this is a kudos for staff. I'll go ahead and say, Mr. Chairman, I've got 4 MPOs that I work directly with here at PART. Winston-Salem does a very good job with regards to the formula funds. It's all agreed upon, and it's actually very streamlined compared to some of the other MPOs. And so I appreciate them bringing this up to even make those steps a little bit more proactive. Just the planning, the TIPs, those take months. And when we're talking about budgets, timing is critical for funds to be available on these public service. So I appreciate staff moving forward with this item.
Thank you, Mr. Ryan. Any additional questions? Very good. This will be back to us in January. Matt, I think we're continuing with you, please.
We are. Thank you, Chairman. Item 9 is a review of the FTA Section 5339 Bus and Bus Facilities Grant Program funding allocation for the Winston-Salem urban area with plans to amend the MTIP. FTA Section 5339 is a formula-based grant program to replace, rehabilitate, and purchase buses and bus facilities. This program provides available federal resources to assist in the operations of fixed-route bus services. The Winston-Salem urban area received $556,276 in fiscal year 2022 and expects a similar apportionment in fiscal year 23. As with 5307, MPO staff will bring an item for final approval once an apportionment is announced, while also recommending approval of an amendment to the MTIP. I'm happy to take any questions on this as well.
Thank you, Matt. Any questions for Matt?
Same question. Can I assume this is an 80% for Winston-Salem, or is this the rate?
So this is funding that is only allocated to WISTA. This isn't expanded to PART and Davidson County. So this is for the full amount for WISTA.
Any other questions, please? All righty. Matthew, you have item number 10 for us, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good afternoon, TAC members. The item before you is a review of an amendment to the MPO's MTIP to program RAISE grant discretionary funding for the Long Branch Trail Extension project in Winston-Salem. So some of you may recall that we had announced previously that US DOT had awarded the city of Winston-Salem $6 million through the RAISE grant program for the Long Branch Trail Extension project. So that current trail terminates at Martin Luther King Jr. Drive now. The extension, the next phase of the project would extend the trail to 25th Street. So we have been awarded that funding through US DOT, but we need to account for that through the STIP at the state level and the MTIP at the MPO level here. So this item is to amend the MTIP to allow us to program those RAISE grant funds. We've also in the past had approved, this board had approved approximately $1.1 million in STBGDA funds and local funds for the design of that trail. So this MTIP amendment will program those RAISE funds and then set up the preliminary engineering and right-of-way categories for this project as well. And I should note that it's currently out for public review right now. And I am happy to answer any questions you may have about the project or the amendment.
Thank you, Matthew. Any questions, please? All righty, we'll see this one again in January. Matt, we're back to you. Item 11.
Thanks again, Chairman, one last time. Item 11 is a review of WISTA's 2022 updates to the Public Transportation Agency Safety Plan, or PTASP for short. FTA requires public transit agencies to adopt a Public Transportation Agency Safety Plan, or PTASP, per federal regulations. The PTASP describes the policy and procedural requirements that WISTA must follow to ensure a safe environment for employees, riders, and the general public. The goal of the PTASP is to eliminate injuries, accidents, misuse, and overuse of funds through prevention of avoidable events. Local safety committees for transit agencies must meet and monitor progress to reduce hazardous conditions and meet safety targets. WISTA's updates to the PTASP include annual performance measures, as well as improvements in communication and payroll to WISTA staff. Page 7 notes a reduction of fixed route injuries as well as safety incidents. WISTA's system reliability also increased. System reliability is the expected number of vehicle revenue miles between mechanical failures based on the performance of the agency. Additionally, demand response experienced injury and safety incident reductions, while system reliability increased for demand response. Page 11 identifies that WISTA has upgraded to paperless payroll processes and has added text to all as a means to communicate to all employees with cell phones. Pages 42 and 43 discuss threat vulnerability, noting that passenger injuries reduced from 5 to 4 based on number of injuries while boarding or alighting WISTA vehicles. Lastly, injuries based on securement issues reduced from 4 to 2 in the last year. And I'm happy to take any questions on that as well.
Any questions? Great. It's a great report. All righty. Hunter, you have our final informational items today.
That's correct, Mayor Horn. Thank you. And this is for information only. This is the review of the fiscal year 2024 Congestion Mitigation and Air Quality Improvement Program, or CMAQ, and the fiscal year 2022 Carbon Reduction Program, or CRP, funding allocation and distribution. On October 31st, 2022, the Winston-Salem Urban Area MPO announced a call for projects for folks to apply, for municipalities to apply for funding for projects that reduce congestion and emissions in our region. While Winston-Salem Urban Area MPO has not received final information from North Carolina Department of Transportation on our CMAQ allocation for fiscal year 2024, the MPO has been directed to use last year's funding amount of $1.79 million as a placeholder to conduct this year's call for projects. In addition to the anticipated $1.79 million under CMAQ, the MPO received an additional allocation of $875,770 under the new carbon reduction program for fiscal year 2022. Because the eligibilities of the carbon reduction program and congestion mitigation and air quality improvement program are very similar, the Winston-Salem Urban Area MPO issued a combination call for projects utilizing the same application, criteria, scoring, and selection processes that have been used for CMAQ in years past. The call for projects will run through November 30th, 2022. Information about each of the programs, the call for projects, and the application can be found in the enclosed. We're looking forward to reviewing your applications, and I'll be happy to respond to any questions at this time.
Very good. Thank you, Hunter. Any questions? All righty. We're at the point, ladies and gentlemen, where we any committee member who wish to have a particular staff report called out at this time. Otherwise, those are you can approach or contact staff and ask for individual reports. But I do want to call one particular one out, and Carrie Gentry is with us. Carrie, are you there?
I'm here, yes, sir.
Very good. You know, we focus in on a lot of numbers, and over the years, those of us who've been serving on the committee have had a great deal of attention focused on air quality. For those of you that happen to look at this particular report, I just want Carrie to call our attention to what I consider amazing improvement in our air quality monitoring. Carrie, will you elaborate just a little bit, please?
Yes, sir. We've had, even before COVID, hit a couple of years ago, we've had some dramatic changes in our number of ozone days that are alert level or higher. And that's even with increased scrutiny or increased tightening of the standard. If you go back, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but if you go back to 2010, we had 12 days. And then if you keep on looking down, the last time we had an exceedance during the summers when we typically have higher ozone was in 2018. We had 3 days during that summer. 2020 was a little off because nobody was traveling and a lot of industry was down. But we're seeing, this is not just in the Triad region. Luckily, it's across the entire country. We're seeing a really big drop off in the pollutants in the air mass. And for our region particularly, I think it has a lot, well, I don't think it is due to the fact that with newer cars every year, a fleet of newer cars come out and they're much cleaner burning, as well as the power plants in our region have, a lot of them switched over to natural gas. And then a lot of industries have improved their or made their pollutants less coming out of their stacks. So those combinations have led to quite a decrease in pollution, especially ozone pollution in the summer. Our particulate matter, which is we forecast year round, it's also very low. I don't have that on this chart, but it's really a nice thing to see. We can still have a day or two that, weather-wise can really crank up the numbers, but all in all, the numbers have really decreased significantly. And that's really, I'm glad you noticed that, Mayor Horn, because that's sort of why I wanted to put that in my report, was to show you the decrease.
Thank you, Carrie. We want to share good news whenever we have it, that's for sure.
Yep.
All righty,
Mr. Chairman, this is Mayor Byram. Could we hear from Mr. Pat Ivy around the transportation project updates that are reflected in the email that we received just before this meeting started? I got one specific question on that, if I may.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Ivy, could you speak to the difference in those items where it says on the right hand side where it was temporarily suspended versus on hold? What's the specific difference between those classifications, and is it possible for something on hold to be unheld, and is it possible for something that's suspended to be unsuspended? If you could just speak to some of those comments on this update.
Sure, I'll be glad to. In general, when we added that comment that said temporarily suspended, that was during the financial issues surrounding the COVID back in 2020 and even down into 2021. With that, as you remember, there were several projects that were originally moving forward that were placed on hold because of that. And there were some projects whose schedules were delayed because of that as well. You remember when the revised draft 2020-2029 STIP was released last year. That's what that comment is related to on those projects. Is there a specific project that you're asking about that I can try to address?
Yeah, thanks for offering that. The widening of Hickory Tree Road, that project, and I had my eyes on the actual number, the tip number, but my eye is strayed from that right now. But it's the Hickory Road expansion project that I know had been delayed till I think 2028 for the let date.
Correct.
Yeah, there
that
it is.
5786.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that one is actually, if you've had an opportunity to look at the draft 2024 2033 TIP, I believe the Hickory Tree Road project is included in there. And once that TIP is actually approved, I believe that comment with temporarily suspended will be removed and we will be able to move forward. We have not been given authorization to resume preliminary engineering work on that project yet, but we do anticipate that will occur probably in early 2023.
Okay, that helps bring clarity to that. I didn't want to continue in my role believing that was on the docket, and then this was the first time I've noticed it was marked suspended. So this is very helpful clarity. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, that note has been on there quite some time.
Okay, that's my bad.
But no, that's fine. That's a good point for me to bring up as well. The draft or the report that you guys that just came out today, the updated report.
Yeah.
It is important to know that Fred Haith has updated all of the schedules to reflect the schedules that are included in that draft 2024-2033 TIP. So these are the most updated schedules with right-of-way acquisition scheduled for that project in February of 2026. I believe that will be considered a committed project in the new TIP.
Okay. All right. Thank you again. Appreciate it.
Glad to do it.
Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Ivy.
Thank you, Pat. Folks, any other questions or comments? I've got a couple of three things I'd like to bring up, and anything from our members.
Mr. Chairman,
Chairman Horn, this is Mike Brannon. This is my second meeting that I've attended here, so I'm still learning the ropes here, but just three quick comments. One, what a well-orchestrated committee. Thank you for your leadership of this, but also all the work that goes on behind the scenes. Number two, what an incredibly well put together document, very easy to consume and very well organized. And number three, I particularly love the staff report section in the back, very informative and very helpful. So kudos to everyone involved in all that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That's much appreciated. Any other comments?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, John, Winston-Salem. This is a Pat Ivy. This is on page 1 of page 7 on the transportation update regarding the Salisbury Ridge Bridge project.
Yes.
And looking at that line, it says let date 845 days after start date. Something's skewed there. Is that the amount of time it takes to do that bridge project? I assume the project's been let.
The project is let and is actually under construction. Work actually began back in September. That date is supposed to imply that the contractor has 845 days to complete the project, but it has definitely started.
So the let date was when, Pat?
The let date on that project, I believe, was back in August. And it was delayed somewhat because of some, not utilities, but materials delays, as we've seen all across the gambit. But, and we've seen that on several of our projects. But as noted on the sheet, work actually began back in on September 21st when the contractor close the bridge, and has been working on utility relocations since that time.
It is in the South Ward, and we're very happy to have it being done. I just didn't quite understand what that meant.
I will.
Thank you.
We will clarify that on the next report. It is a little confusing.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. It's good to hear from you. Any other comments, questions?
Just one footnote, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
To my earlier comments, our experts at the meeting suggested it will cost us about $24 million to improve the road condition between Rural Hall and Drummondson Road on Old Summit. So I'm pleading for you to buy chicken sandwiches from me at your earliest convenience as we try to raise $24 million. Thank you so much.
I'll lend you the chickens, Mr. Alameen. Okay. Well, folks, just a couple of things. First off, big congratulations to Pat, to our MPO, to our construction folks. We had an opening of the new section of I-74. It was quite a deal. Ms. Adams, you were there. I think a number of you folks were there. It was exciting to actually have that open, and it's going to be a tremendous economic and residential and business boon for the eastern side of our county. So congratulations, Pat, on that section. I will tell you that I got on it and there was nobody there, and I was able to get my car up to 142 miles an hour. So don't the one time that you could do that.
Completely off the record.
Totally off the record.
Yes.
Also would like to congratulate Matthew Burzak. You have been promoted to principal planner. Matthew, congratulations. You've done a great job for us, and the promotion is well deserved. So it's good to have you in that position.
Thank you, sir.
We are saying goodbye, a very unfortunate goodbye to Mr. Alameen. This will be his last meeting with us. Fleming, I know that you and I have been participating in the TAC for quite some time. I know you not only through the TAC, but a number of other boards and committees that we're on. I truly respect your opinion, your contributions that you've made. You're going to be missed because you're a gentleman that cares, and you care about your constituents. So please accept this committee's congratulations and best wishes, and certainly our heartfelt appreciation for your service.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and happy Thanksgiving to each and every one of you.
And actually, you just kind of preempted me. I was offering our best wishes to everyone for a wonderful for Thanksgiving holidays, and also the holidays coming up. We don't reconvene again until January. I hope you will have joyous holidays. Hug your family. Spread a lot of love and compassion. We need as much of that as we can get. I want to thank the staff. Kids, you guys just do an amazing job, and I'll reflect the sentiments expressed earlier. We are so fortunate that we have this organization with you all behind it, and the amazing professionalism and expertise that you bring to it. So get yourself an extra turkey wing this Thanksgiving for the job that you do, because you are terrific and much appreciated. We don't have a meeting in December. We're on holiday like everybody. Our next meeting will be Wednesday, January 24th. Now, please note that that's the fourth Wednesday in January, because we do have a transportation summit that's going to require some of our folks to be there that third week. So Wednesday, January 24th is our next meeting that we're together. Any other comments, closing comments, members?
Mr. Chairman, with regard to Mr. Alameen's request for the chicken sandwich, we had a ribbon cutting this morning in Kernersville for a new establishment out on the Union Cross Road area. The name of the place is the true name, Brother Pluckers. And Mr. Alameen, I will gladly buy you a chicken sandwich at our new business.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Much appreciated.
Well, members, as always, thanks for all you do.
If I may.
Yes, ma'am.
Kelly, I just wanted to point out that it's on a Tuesday. It's Tuesday, the 24th of January, and it's not our regularly scheduled meeting. So we wanted to remind everybody to check their calendars for availability that day.
So forget everything I just said. And remember everything Kelly just said. So we're going to be on a Tuesday of that week.
Yes, sir.
So if you perceive that you're going to have any problems on that Tuesday, please let Kelly know so we can be sure we have a quorum.
Yes, sir.
Members, as always, I appreciate all that you do, the time that you give. We do a lot of important work here. A lot of it, as was mentioned earlier, it takes a little while to figure out what it is we do. But what we do, as Ms. Adams can attest to, Mr. Alameen can attest to, and a number of others of you, it's important work. It's huge for our region. The improvements that we have the ability to make, the funds we're able to allocate, and the thoughtful consideration that each one of you give to the matters that come before us. So my sincere thanks to you. Any other comments, folks? If not, we can just do a motion to adjourn, can't we, Kelly? Can we have a motion and a second to adjourn, please?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Alameen makes his final motion. Mr. Clark makes what we hope is not his last second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Very good. Any opposed? Thank you, folks. Have great holidays.
You
Happy
too.
holiday.
Happy holiday.